What is going on, y'all? Back at it again with another live stream. I know it's a little odd time, but we're here. Sharpening up the McNeese PM Mac 2 here. Magna cut steel, so it should sharpen up pretty nicely. Let's see how this goes. I actually haven't touched this edge in a very, very long time. So PM Mac 2 using the Work Sharp guided field sharpener. Love this thing. And just to see where this edge is at, got some little instruction paper here. The edge isn't terrible, but it definitely needs some improving. Mostly on this front part here. So to sharpen this up, take y'all along with me, and we'll see how this goes. How are y'all doing today? How is y'all's Thursday? Let's get some more space here. How's y'all's Thursday going? We're pretty much going to be using this rough course stone here until we feel a burr. Going all the way through. Starting to get there. What I love about this sharpener is it has angle guides. So what you see me doing here is, get this out of the way. I don't need that. Is I'm lining it up on this angle guide right here. So that gives me my 20-degree angle, which honestly for EDC tasks, everything like that, is going to be just fine. And really, that's where I prefer to keep my edges at anyway, is a nice 20-degree. Get a couple more passes on here. Getting there. How are y'all doing? How's y'all's weeks going? How's your Thursday? Hope everything is going really well for y'all. All right, now we can switch over to the other side. Oh, what's going on, dude? I'm being very, very light with the pressure that I'm using. You don't want to push into the stone. You kind of just want to let the knife slide along the top. You want to let the sharpening surface do most of the work for you. You're not trying to like dig into the stone, because that can, one, damage your stone and damage your edge. So just very, very light pressure here. Making sure you keep that steady angle all the way through. Now, same deal here. Once we get enough material to where we get a burr, then we'll flip it over. Start getting to some of these other grits. Getting somewhere. focusing more on this front area because this is kind of the part of the blade that's sort of struggling to get a little bit of a burr. All right, we'll flip it back over to this side. We'll get rid of that burr. Now we'll switch sides to a finer grit plate. And we'll do the same thing. Locked in 100%, dude. Freehand sharpening like this, you always gotta make sure that there's no slipping when it comes to your edge. Keeping everything smooth, making sure you're not fucking anything up. Because that's where most people go wrong when using a freehand style sharpening is their edge angle is inconsistent. They're not fully hitting the stone all the way. A lot of things can happen when using a sort of freehand sharpening type system. Because even the slightest little difference in the way that you're angling the blade, even a little bit of difference can really fuck up your edge. So barbed hooks, I am 100% locked in here. Because while I like sharpening knives, it's a very nice pastime for me. If I don't have to do it more than once on the same knife in the same go, then that's a win for me. Take off that burr. Again, how are y'all doing? How's y'all's Thursdays? See where this edge is at. Magazine paper. Already. Already a massive improvement. Could get a little bit cleaned up here, so that's what we're gonna do. How's everybody's Thursday going? Hope y'all are doing well. If you're just hopping in, we're sharpening up the McNeese PM Mac 2 using the WorkSharp guided field sharpener. Should be good there. Flip it over and let's strap her up. Now with stropping, you always want to go the opposite way you've been sharpening. So we've been going heel to tip. Now when stropping, we're going to go tip to heel. And the benefits of stropping this way is in the edge here has been trapping little pieces of metal. So by going the opposite way, you're getting in between each of those little tiny little crevices in the edge and just cleaning, making sure that edge is nice and free of any metal debris that built up while we were sharpening. So if you've always struggled with stropping, I know I did for a long time, I was doing it wrong, and so it wasn't even helping. So stropping the right way is going to make sure that that edge comes out the best that it possibly can and will extend the life of the edge of your knife, making sure that it can still cut the way that it should. So as you can see here, we are way back, way back. So this one's good to go. Check out the edge all together. Everything looks good. Everything looks good. yeah, this one's all ready to go. Glad to have this one all done. I've been carrying this one, using it for the last month. Haven't touched the edge at all, and so that's where we're at. Is fresh edge on the McNeese PM Mac 2. One of my all-time favorite EDC knives. Just is a tank and a beast of a knife that will do you wonders. Love this knife. I've also got a couple of others here. This is one that I just touched up, sort of touched up. I did some working on this knife. This had absolutely awful lock stick. And I mean, it still has a little bit. What I ended up doing was, can actually probably fix it a little bit more. I took it apart, and on the lock bar surface where it interfaces with the blade, I actually took this stone, took it out, and just tried to polish up the surface of the lock face, and it helped a lot. But I could probably get it a little bit better. So I think I'm going to do that. Let's take apart this knife, and I only need to take apart this side. That's what I fucked up last time. Is I took the knife completely apart when I really didn't need to, because all I need to get to is the lock side. So all I'm going to take off is this front scale right here, and what I'm going to need is a T8. For those of you just hopping in here, we are trying to take out the lock stick from this Spyderco. It's been awful since the day I got it, and we're going to try and get rid of it. I've tried many different things. I've tried putting in, tried locking, or not locking, but marking the lock faces with a Sharpie, with a pencil, all the tricks, all the things, and nothing has been sticking. Nothing's been working. Well, the knife itself has been sticking. So we're going to do a couple of things here to try and fix that. Let's put that back. Let's wipe this down, and let's get to work. One thing I might also try and do is clean up the actual lock surface on the blade. See if that will help. That in there. And we'll wipe this off too. Hopefully it does. I'm very hopeful that this will work. But let's start with this lock bar again. And what I'm doing, yeah, I can even see, it's just, I don't know how well this is gonna pick up, but there's still like grind lines. The lock surface is not even remotely smooth. So we're gonna try and take care of that. Let's see what other plates I have in here. Because maybe there's a finer grit that won't fuck up the lock bar too much. Extra fine, medium. Let's go with extra fine. Yeah, we'll do that. What I'm doing is I'm taking this diamond plate. I think it's diamond plate. I don't know. We'll see. And literally just trying to smooth out the surface of the lock interface to see if that will get the lock stick taken care of. I'm not doing too much. I'm not trying to take away material. I'm just trying to smooth it out a little bit. Hello, not even touching the right side here. doing something. There we go. Like I said, all I'm doing is just trying to smooth out this lock bar surface. Alleviate any tension that might be building up here. Not trying to take any material off, just trying to take away any friction that might be building up here. There we go. And I'm actually going to do the same thing on the blade here. See if anything helps. Dirt Nap City, what's going on, dude? Right now we're just fixing up some lock stick on my Spyderco Bodacious here. Lock surfaces seem to be pretty gritty. So all we're doing is cleaning these up. Seeing if we can get the lock stick out of this Spyderco Bodacious, because it has been a pain in my ass for the last couple of months. I've done everything except take care of the lock surfaces. Like I said, I'm not trying to take any material off because I don't want to mess with the lock geometry. But I want to do just enough to clean up this surface. And hopefully we'll have an actually functioning. Let's see, I don't have that one yet. Yeah, 100%. A lot of compression locks have lock stick, and it's the worst. I had one so bad that I literally had to use like both hands, borderline pliers, to get the lock bar unstuck. So what I'm using here, I already touched the actual lock bar. Right now I'm cleaning up the lock face on the blade and just hoping that it was just a dirty CNC cut from the factory. And my hope is I can just take some of this friction away. To where we can get an actual clean, smooth surface. So I think that's enough with the plate. What I'm actually going to do is hit this with some ceramic. Looks pretty good to me. So let's get this piece back together and let's hope and pray that this thing is actually. I'm wanting a shaman for a while. I just can't bring myself to spend the money yet. I have a 2-month-old at home. 100%. I'm in the same boat. I've got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and money is not always in the largest supply here. But what I've actually been doing as of late, secondary market. Secondary market is amazing when it comes to Spydercos especially. There is a big secondary market when it comes to Spydercos. So this isn't actually a Shaman. It's sort of the Shaman's, it's like the evolution of the Spyderco Shaman. This is the Spyderco Bodacious. So for all intents and purposes, it's basically the same footprint as the Shaman, but just without the forward finger choil. So same dimensions, same blade length, same handle length. The only difference is the fact that there's no forward finger choil. Let's get some lube on here. There we go. Boom, boom, 2 drops. Should be good enough. And I'm praying to Spyderco Jesus that this works. There we go, that's all in place. Let's get the scales in here. Pivot. Now the hard part in doing this type of work on your knife, and especially to the lock bar and the lock bar surface, is you do run the risk of taking off too much material, which is why I opted for the finest grit plate that I have. I was kind of wondering about the access to the thumb hole. Yeah, the actual like usability of this knife is fantastic. Moment of truth here. It's still there. Maybe. Hold on. A little bit. But it's not as bad as it used to be. This now only has a slight bit of lock stick versus a very prominent. I'm okay with that. Let's tune this up a little bit though. And let's fix the centering because the centering is way off. Yeah, these are Rips Garage Tech micarta scales. Run about $60, which for scales is a little expensive, but so I'll leave these loosened up a little bit. For scales is a little expensive, but USA made. It's getting better. We do this side too. Let's open it up this way. Is the hole access impeded? Not at all. I'm gonna kind of backwards weigh this. Let's maybe touch these body screws up a little bit. You know, body screw, the pivot hole, I'll show you here. You get full pivot hole, which means I can get pretty much a good amount of finger in there. Pause. The whole axis here is actually really nice. The only Spyderco that I have come across where the thumb hole is kind of a pain to get into is the Spyderco Yojimbo. One, the hole is smaller. So if we look here, the hole is a significant bit smaller, which makes it to where I can really only get like the top of my finger in there to snap it out. But it still works. Works pretty good. Whereas on this guy, bigger hole, I have no problem with the access. And even on these scales, they are sort of chamfered down a little bit towards the hole itself. So you get a nice little like indent spot for deployment. So I don't really have any problems with the deployment hole on most Spydercos, and this one's no different. Let's hit it from both sides. Man, why is this not centering? Yeah, even a normal deployment with the thumb and everything. Let's tighten these back up. Maybe that's the issue. Even standard deployment. Oh no, it's the wrong side. That's fine. Hopefully now if we tighten up the pivot, then we'll get somewhere. There we go. It's not perfect, but it works. So blade centering still favors the show side, but I think once we get the action sort of tuned up here. There we go. Yeah, a little better. And now that we've tuned her up, come on, there we go. So yeah, still favoring one side over the other. Not the biggest deal. I don't really mind about centering, but lock stick is gone. So that's a win. I have noticed though, with this knife specifically, why is it so tight? What oil do I use? I use KPL. Now I have been using this specific bottle for 4 years now, and I've barely put a dent in it. I still have this whole bottle after 4 years. Now I do have a good mix of, where's everything else? I do also have KPL Heavy and Ultralight, which Ultralight is best for like OTFs. This is my OTF oil. And this one is like detent track, bigger, heavier knives, versus the original here is more so like all-purpose washers, bearings, stuff like that. I pretty much just primarily use this one. And it's lasted me a long time. It's a really nice oil. I really haven't had any issues with it. But I'm wondering why is it so tight? Interesting. Yeah, lock stick is pretty much all gone on this guy. But to answer your question, normal access, thumb hole is really good. You can. What is going on here? Is the detent track? I'm wondering. Because the action is super soft right now. I'm wondering if the detent track is gunked up. Let's take a look. Because if it is, that is no bueno. Which it could be. I don't know why it would, but it could. No. So why are you doing this to me? Could also be the way that these scales are machined. That could be it too. I am seeing, well, we're just going all in with this blade today. Yeah, what I'm actually gonna do, I'm noticing right now the micarta sits higher right here on the scales. And I'm wondering if it's the same on this side. Just a little bit. So what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna take one of these plates again and wear off some of this top micarta here. Because I don't know if you can tell, but there is a slight upwards, like the scale sits higher than the actual, what is this called? Why am I so bad at this today? Liner. That's what it is. God damn. I'm going to take these scales down to match the liner height because I think that's where the action is getting caught up, is surprisingly enough, right, it's on the scale here, which is kind of crazy. So what do I want to use here? Use this plate. I don't have any sandpaper, otherwise I would be using sandpaper. But I'm just gonna take this. I'm going to take this micarta down. Now, is this the best way to do it? Probably not. Am I going to do it anyway? Absolutely. I think that's enough to do it. Let's clean this off. I mean, that looks better. I might hit this edge here just a little bit more. That looks good to me. And let's do the same thing over on this side. There we go. Okay. Hopefully, with all of that done, now we will have a completely flush, beautiful action here. There it is. But yeah, back to Dirt Nap City. The secondary market is a fantastic place for spider codes. I know I found some shamans. Actually, I was planning on buying a shaman before I landed myself on the bodacious. Secondary market is such a great place for knives. I was eyeing a shaman in Rex 76, Rex 70. It was Rex something. It was I think a St. Nick's exclusive in like black denim micarta for, what was the price? It was a reasonable price. I want to say it was like two something. It's like $250 or something like that. Which is still pretty expensive, but it was a brand new inbox shaman. Tighten that down too much. Why not? Work with me here. Could be the body screws too. I crank those bitches down. So never be afraid to shy away from secondary market buys. Damn. I know it's the scale because I can hear it rubbing. Could also be a dirty detent track. Try and drop some oil in there. Jesus, fuck. It's getting caught up right here. There we go. I don't know what I did, but I did something. Saw a message. Do you make videos on all EDC stuff or just knives? Primarily just knives. I'm not crazy into any other like EDC type stuff. Throw some Loctite on these because they're wanting to back out. But I have videos on like EDC updates, so like wallets, flashlights, pens, stuff like that. But primarily what I stick to is going to be knives. That is my main bread and butter. That's what I've been doing for the last borderline 4 years. And it's worked up to this point, so it's kind of what I stick to. I used to be really big into everything else, but not anymore. My interest has kind of just stuck with knives. Even though I am still fascinated by a lot of the other stuff. I kind of found the flashlight that I vibe with. I found the pen that I vibe with. And so I don't really deal too much in a lot of the other EDC stuff. There are other channels that are well better suited for that kind of stuff, but that is just me. Yeah. There we go. Finally. Action's nice. Lock stick, still there, but better. So overall, I think this was a success. I don't think I'm getting away from that lock stick. I've tried. This just might be a sticky knife. But it is what it is. Let's see. What are your budget picks of late? So for budget, I have a lot of different options when it comes to budget knives. Like I said, knives primarily are kind of my thing. So in the budget category, in my opinion, budget is going to be anything around 100 or less, 70 below like the $75 price point is where I would categorize budget. That's just my take. And so for me, I've got a couple. Let's get them out here. Now I've got four different companies that I would recommend budget knives from in the collection. So for me and what I have right now in the collection, my most recommendable is going to be Kaiser for sure. Kaiser is really, really nice. They make a lot of good designs. Their build quality is pretty nice for what you're paying for. This guy, I want to say, was around $70-ish. You got blue aluminum, AEBL steel on the blade, Kaiser's clutch lock, which honestly I feel like is the best version of a crossbar lock. And this one kind of reminds me of the Benchmade 940, the Benchmade Osborne. Has very similar design ideology, and overall I really like the aesthetic here. Yeah, the Pokemon. Love this knife, 100%. Absolutely great. Another one from Kaiser that I've really been digging lately is the Drop Bear 2. This one comes in right about 50, in between 50 and 60 bucks. Nitro V steel. You do have a hollow grind, which I really dig. And it's a top liner lock on bearings. So really, really dig this knife here. Full steel liners, but there is some skeletonizing for weight reduction. And this thing is so damn light. And I really, really dig it. Really nice knife. I was a big fan of the original Drop Bear, but as soon as they came out with this one, I sold off my original drop bear and picked this one up. So really, really dig this one. So Kaiser is always going to be a solid option when it comes to budget knives. They have been around a really long time. Their quality control seems to be pretty good. I have yet to have a Kaiser, and I've had a lot of them that has been less than good from the factory. Another company, you mentioned them, is Tenable. So this is the Tenable Fenrir Concepts budget brand for anybody around here who is unaware. Love this knife. Nitro V steel in a black like acid stonewash. G-Mascus sort of handle here and another top liner lock. Really, really like this knife and wanted a Fenrir for a long time, and Tenable hooked me up with this one. So this is a solid, solid knife. Razor sharp out of the box. Absolutely killer knife. I love the Tenable Fenrir. Want to get my hands on the concept one in a little bit, but for right now, this one does it for me. And I think this one is right around the $70-$75 price range. Really nice. They also have a couple of different scale options. I know they make the aluminum scaled ones. I don't know if they have micarta, but they might. But yeah, this is a really solid option for the budget. And they even make fixed blades. This one is a really nice pocket fixed blade. One of my favorites right now is the Tenable Par 14C 28N blade steel, which is nothing crazy, but a decent, really decent blade steel for EDC purposes. And the sheath is kind of what sold me. This is already set up, came with a pocket clip. And honestly, with basketball shorts, which is what I'm wearing right now, any type of athletic shorts, pairs really well in the pocket. It's not super heavy, so it's not going to be dragging around your pockets, but it's also easy enough to get in and out of the pocket. So I really like this one. The color scheme on here is also really nice with the brown PVD coating that they have with the brown micarta. Really nice. I've loved carrying this one. This one is kind of the main fixed blade that I carry nowadays. So really solid option. Par is so sick. I think that's probably my next pickup. 100%. And for like $50, which is what I think these go for, really solid option. You can even go bump up to Concepts version of this knife, the Concept Par. And that is S35VN. Similar handle configurations with like micarta. I think they have carbon fiber or something like that. But even those run like 125 somewhere in there. So it's not a crazy jump from my idea of budget. So Tenable is another really good option when it comes to budget knives. Another one that I picked up recently that I was kind of surprised by was the O knife. So Olight's knife brand. This is the Durin, something like that. Aluminum handle scales, Nitro V blade, and the action is absolutely crazy on this one. And this one retails, I think I picked it up on Amazon for 50-ish bucks, something like that. Really nice lock bar access. So I want to flip it around here. Really, really nice lock bar access. And the action is really nice as well. Bigger knife, I think this one is 3.5 inches, 3.6 inches, something like that. But just a really, really nice knife. Edge sharpness out of the box. We are looking really nice. Really nice factory edge. That was me. Really nice. So yeah, O-Knife Durin, also a really solid option. I don't know how many of Olight's O-Knives knives are. That's a fucking mouthful. I don't know if all of their knives are in this sort of price category, but I really liked this one, so I picked it up. And yeah, there we go. They make really solid knives. And the most recent one that I've gotten that I was insanely surprised by is SRM. Now this one, couple of reasons why I think this is one of the best budget knives on the market right now. Really similar liner structure to how the Benchmade Bug Out is. I don't know. Let's get a light in here. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but pretty much with the liner, it stops right about where the screw is. So the liner stops right about here. But the difference between this and the Bug Out is these are thick G10 handles. So there is no way you're going to be pressing this thing, breaking this thing apart with your hands. The lock itself, pretty nice. It has a little bit of lock stick. Not really sure what that's from, but there's no stop pin. It's actually this folded piece of steel on the back, and the thumb studs are the stopping point on the scales themselves. So really nice. There's no like sharpening issues when you're running into like normal stop pins are stopped by some shootout in the blade here, but because the thumb studs are actually the stopping point, there's nothing to worry about when it comes to sharpening this blade, cutting in a bigger choil, you know, taking this blade up a little bit, no issues with that. But the biggest, another thing before I get to my favorite part about this, the pocket clip, there's no hardware. You literally press it and it pops out, almost like a pair of tweezers. So you could run this with no pocket clip, but you just slide that back in and it clicks into place. Really nice design here. Has a built-in, well, I don't know if it's built-in, but a little backspacer with a gold anodized lanyard little spot there. And the best part about this knife is the factory edge. It's a mirror polished factory edge. That shows up a little bit better. Absolutely nuts. I didn't even realize it when I first took this out of the box. That's factory edge. And this knife is about 50 bucks. So for 50 bucks, you're getting an insane factory edge, 10 CR something MOV. Can CPM 20 CV scratch glass? Probably could. Most knives can scratch glass. It's just a matter of how fast that glass will dull the edge. And with 20 CV, its edge retention is pretty good. Its toughness is decent, but you're probably gonna mar up the edge a little bit if you try and scratch glass with 20 CV. But most knives can scratch glass. It's just a matter of how well it's gonna come out on the other side after you put that edge on some glass. Yeah, this is the SRM. SRM does really weird with their model numbers. It's the 255L. I don't know if this is technically released yet, but I know the first version, this is the V2. Watch the guy scratch glass, but he didn't mention the steel. Yeah, most knives can scratch glass. You're talking about a sharpened piece of steel against glass. Glass is fairly soft when it comes to stuff like that. But it really is going to depend on how the steel is heat treated. If the steel is hardened to a very soft HRC, then it's probably not going to do much to it. But if it's a hard enough HRC, like something like 20 CV or Crewware in their optimal HRC range, it should scratch glass. And it probably also depends on the type of glass that you're wanting to scratch or that was scratched. Tempered glass tends to scratch decently easily. Plexiglass, stained glass, stuff like that. So there's a lot of factors in there, but for the most part, a sharpened blade can scratch glass. But yeah, this knife is very, very impressive for the price point that it's at, the SRM 255L. Like I said, this is the V2, I'm wanting to say, when SRM sent this over. But yeah, this is a really nice buy for 50 bucks. And I would spend my own money on this. SRM did send this out, but I'm not paid by SRM. I've already done my review. I've already done my time with this, and I still use it every once in a while. I do have nicer knives that I prefer to use, but this is a really nice. I just tried it, scratched the glass on my electric fireplace heater. It has a glass door. Yeah. Any knife, any sharpened piece of steel, really any steel can scratch glass. Steel is by nature harder than glass. And so it's not difficult to scratch glass. I mean, I could scratch glass with this can. It's just the way that different materials are. Steel's harder than glass. Steel's going to scratch glass. But yeah, this knife is a very, very impressive knife. Not only for the price point, but just all around. Really, really big fan of this knife from SRM. Can't have those knives for EDC in the UK. I'm so sad. Yeah, UK has some pretty shitty knife laws. I mean, they have shitty laws against firearms too. Some places in America have shitty laws against firearms. I think my personal opinion, weapons laws are, I understand to a point, but I also don't understand a big part of weapons laws, especially when it comes to knives. Knives are tools. It sucks that some people utilize them as weapons and kind of ruin it for the rest of us, but really not going to get into that. But my favorite UK legal knife, since you mentioned you're from the UK, is actually going to be this slip joint right here, which is the QSP Hedgehog. Really, really nice. Love the blade shape. Construction is done really, really well. Has a really nice micarta handles. 14C28N blade. It's got a hollow grind, which makes it insanely slicey. I've not touched this edge in a very long time. Really nice. I love this knife. I don't love slip joints. Slip joints, they're not my preferred knife if I'm going to be, when I am carrying one, not if, because I always have a knife on me. But as far as slip joints go, this is one of my favorites. Decent size, you get a full grip, and the back spring on here keeps it from closing up on you. If you put a little bit of force on here, it really takes a lot to get that closed. And even if it does, it has a really nice half stop. So worst case scenario, you're going to get a little nick in your finger right here, but you're not going to chop your finger off, which is really nice. So QSP Hedgehog makes a fantastic slip joint. This is one of my favorites. And if I'm carrying it, I carry it in this Tailored by Cortez leather pocket slip. Since most slip joint pocket knives do not have pocket clips. So yeah, I'm always rocking it in this little knife slip here. I need to find something like that for whittling. Yeah, something like this, even something like a case. Case makes really good knives. Generally pretty inexpensive. As I mean, in the US, this is maybe 25 bucks. USA made, really just a no frills type of knife, and you can do a lot of whittling with something like this. It's a tough steel. This one is this carbon steel? This one's stainless steel. Um, so a little less tough, but a little bit more wear resistance when it comes to the edge of the blade. But I really like this one. This was a Christmas gift a few years back, and still carry it sometimes. Like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of slip joints, and this one also sits in a Tailored by Cortez leather knife slip. But yeah, those are solid budget options if you're in a place that restricts certain types of knives. Recommend a slip joint. Those are the ones that I would recommend the most in the budget kind of category, because I don't think budget knives should be crazy expensive, and those ones are really good for the money. But yeah, those are some of my favorites. Outlaw, you said it was a zero tolerance 0308. Not super knowledgeable when it comes to ZT and their knife models. I'm bad with numbers. I can't keep up with all the numbers. But thanks for the Rex using a SIK right now, but we'll look into those as well. Swiss Army knives are also solid. I don't love Swiss Army knives because the blade profiles typically don't lend themselves all that well to actual use. Swiss Army knives are great if you're using a knife to, open a package, quick slices here and there. But as far as actually using them, they are not great whatsoever. Like I said, they're great if you need a sharp edge in a pinch, but a lot of the times those edges are going to dull out on their knives. Most of the other tools are pretty well built, but as far as their knives go, they're not using ideal steels for knife edges, which is why I always recommend, if you're going to carry some sort of multi-tool, always carry a dedicated knife as well, because the most of the time knives on multi-tools will not get you very far. But like I said, those knives, those slip joints are really, really nice, especially coming in at the price point that they do. They're jack of all trades, but master of none, 100%. They do a lot of things pretty good, but nothing insanely well. Their tool sets are usually pretty good. I am not a big fan of Swiss Army knives just because of their form factor. I am a Leatherman guy through and through. I think the form factor and the tools, the usability of a Leatherman far outweighs it's bigger, it's bulkier, but I usually have this either on the belt or in one of my other pockets. So I usually most days have a Leatherman on me. I just prefer, like I said, I prefer the form factor. I prefer a lot of the tool sets. They have a wider variety of tool sets on Leathermans versus Swiss Army knives. And in my opinion, the tools are better built on something like a Leatherman or something of that variety versus a Swiss Army knife. But if you're only allowed, like especially in the UK, the Leathermans most of the time have a locking blade on them, which means it becomes illegal for you to carry, which I understand. I do know that Leatherman, I mean, you could also just snap the blade, grind the blade off, and have that as an option, but then that becomes an extremely expensive project to undergo. Because a lot of times Leathermans come with files. I don't know the restrictions when it comes to carrying like a saw or a file or something like that, but you would have to do some work to get a Leatherman carryable. However, I do know Leatherman might make a bladeless multi-tool, but I'm not 100% certain. That might be another company. But there are options that have bladeless multi-tool forms in that sort of, have the pliers and stuff like that. So there are options out there. But like I said, if you're only allowed that type and that form of multi-tool, then it definitely gets the job done. I want one as well someday. I think there's a store near my workplace that sells some. We'll have to look into them. 100%. And especially if you go into a local store, most of the time, if they're doing their business right, they will have the legal options that you're able to buy there. So definitely a good place to look. Pac-Man, what's up, dude? Glad you could make it in. But yeah, that's definitely a solid option, looking at local places so that you know what you're buying is actually legal and not doing some guesswork, hoping that something might be legal and then you find out it's not. So 100% local shops are always the way to go, because they can't sell you something that they are not allowed to sell. That's illegal for them to sell. So if you're unsure about laws, about, I want this, but I'm not sure 100% if it's legal, the writing in there, but as a lady, they're not as cute as Victorinox stuff. So that's consideration for me as well. 100%. For me, style is always something that goes into like stuff that I buy. I always consider that. Especially my favorite knife brand is Spyderco. I have a lot of Spyderco knives. None of them are stock. Every single one of them, I take it back. One of them is. This is the only Spyderco that I have that is completely, well, not completely, I have changed the pocket clip, but for the most part, stock out of the box the way it came. And I haven't changed it because I like the way that it looks. But this pair of 3, custom scales. This pair of 3, custom all the way around, custom finish, custom blade, pocket clip, stuff like that. This one, really, really dig it. Same deal, custom scales, custom pocket clip on this one. If you stuck around for a little bit, we did some work on this one. And then this one, also pretty custom all the way around. So yeah, you have to consider, if you buy a knife that you don't like how it looks, or buy a tool you don't like how it looks, you're probably not going to carry it because you're thinking, oh, I don't like the way that this looks. Aesthetics play a big part, and some of us might not want to admit it, but aesthetics play a big part in our buying decisions and what we decide to carry, what we decide to leave at home, or leave on the shelf, leave in our shopping cart on Amazon. Aesthetics plays a big part. And a lot of my knives I bought, or I've gotten into the collection because I like the way that they look and I like the way that they function. It's a sort of double-edged sword there, that knives have to fill multiple roles. Has to function, but it also has to look good. There are some cases where I have knives that I don't love the look of, but they function really well. This one being a big example. I don't love how this knife looks, but it functions insanely well, and so I use it and I carry it, even though, to me, this is an ugly ass knife. There's nothing special about it. It's a rectangle piece of aluminum and a very stock standard blade shape. There's nothing fancy about this knife, but it works really well, and I like carrying it because it works. That's the end of that sentence. I thought there was going to be more, but that's the end of that sentence. Another knife, technically another Spyderco. I forgot I had this one in the box. I don't love the way that this knife looks. I don't like the handles. The blade shape is fine, but it's not the most usable for me. That being said, it does function very well. This is an excellent box cutter. This is the knife I use a lot for breaking down cardboard when I'm trying to fit 20 boxes into my recycling bin. This is a really well-functioning tool. Do I like the looks of it? Not necessarily, but it is a functioning tool that never leaves the house because I don't like it. I don't like the way that it looks, but it functions very, very well. I took up for Spider for you. Someone was trashing the bodacious. Hell yeah, dude. You're going to get a Spyderco one of these days. I will make it my life's mission to get a Spyderco in your hands. I love the bodacious. This is one of my favorite Spyderco knives. I finally took the lock stick out of it. It's still there a little bit, But earlier on the stream, I actually took this thing apart, grinded off some of the excess micarta that was peeking up over the scales, polished up the lock surfaces, hoping that I would get the lock stick out, and it's still there. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. I really don't know what to do at this point other than just deal with it. But I like it enough that it sticks around. I'm hoping eventually, if I use it enough, it'll break in. But there is just something going on here that I don't know what's happening. It might be the top where it's interfacing with the stop pin. I didn't try that. I polished up where it interfaces with the blade, but now that I'm thinking about it, it might be the stop pin portion. Because if you're unfamiliar with Spyderco's compression lock interfaces in two different spots. It interfaces with the blade here, and that's what keeps the blade open, but it also compresses itself between the blade and the stop pin. And so what I did earlier was I polished up the actual interface between the lock bar and the blade. But what I left untouched that I'm thinking about now, like, god damn. You hear that? That's awful. I hate that. That's what I'm going to try next. And honestly, I might do that right now. Olatans you sent me has been getting a lot of pocket time lately. Hell yeah, dude. That's what I like to hear. That Olatans knife is such a good knife. Decent blade steel. Really just overall a nice knife. And I'm glad that it's getting a lot of use in your pockets. Makes me happy. Let's do this again. Really didn't want to like it. Oh, I know, dude. Your stance on front flippers. After hearing that, I was like, you know, you're against front flippers now, but you're not going to be forever. All right. Let's fix this. Can I maybe just twist this around? All right. Let's find this plate. I'll be right back. All right, we're back. All right. What I'm doing here is this part that interfaces with the stop pin. I'm just trying to polish that up, get any sort of resistance off of it. And I'm using a very fine grit diamond plate. My thought is there is some sort of rough edge on the lock face that just needs to be polished out, is my thought. Whether that is true or not, I don't know, but that's the only thing that would make sense. I'm just going to rub this plate on here for a little bit. We shall find out. I know. Find out we shall. I know this is tedious. Thank you guys for sticking with me. I just really want to fix this knife so that I can carry it and not have to worry about whether or not it's going to stick up on me. I can see where it's at. So I'm hoping polishing that out. What's up? Hi. Just running my strop over this, hoping that this will fix the problem. Okay, so that's all good. Polished up nice. Just wipe some of this shit off of here. Let's actually wipe the stop pin down. I'm hoping. Red Horse, what's going on, dude? Maybe that's another problem. Not bad, man. Not bad at all. Doing pretty good today. So let's move this back up. Get the detent track lubed up. And let's see. Let's see if we're finally getting somewhere. There we go. Drop this pivot back in here. Remember watching one of your lives before. Yeah, man, you were in here like maybe 2 weeks ago. If I'm remembering right. There we go. Get that back in here. This guy back in here. And let's pray. I'll be in school today. Yeah, about 2 weeks. Yeah. Hell yeah. I think that did it. At least for now. I'm always at work, LOL. Yeah. Today, really all this week, took a training break. And so I have been at home because I am on leave right now. That did it, at least for now. Still there a little bit. but not nearly as bad as it was before. I can work with that. I don't mind that. Hell yeah, we did it. We did it. All right. Well, guys, I appreciate you for sticking with me. Me too, my brother. I had a bad fever, so I get to stay home today. I'm sick. Not really, though. Love it, man. I used to do that all the time. I used to be sick constantly. Not constantly, just when I wasn't feeling like going to school. I'm sick today. No, I would generally be sick, but not bad enough to be like, oh, I need to stay home. I would be just sick enough to be like, can't go to school. But yeah, appreciate you guys for hanging out with me today. I think this is where we're going to end it off, but I hope y'all have a fantastic Thursday, a kick-ass rest of your week, and I will catch you guys maybe this weekend. But if not, definitely next week we'll run this back again. So hope you guys have an awesome day, and I will catch you guys